Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Really excited to, I guess, really be launching what is going to be the first of several episodes of Bang Bang Anonymous. Just a little thing that some of my good friends out in San Diego, where I was for 4 years for work, a lot of my recovery community out there, recovery meaning sober from alcohol and drugs, we had just sort of a little thing between us that I kind of launched, and it was Bang Bang, right? It's just good energy. It's just good. Good, high, positive vibes, energy. And actually, there's a funny story to go along with it. One of my best friends, his son is named Mateo, and I used to call him Matty-Yayo, like Matty-A-O, like his name. Also, like Tony Yayo, the rapper, for anybody that remembers 50 Cent. So I thought, well, maybe not the best thing for him to like catch on to as a nickname, because he was like 6, I think. And we started calling him Matty Bang Bang instead, and then he in turn started calling me Uncle Bang Bang. So it was just a whole thing, to the point where his grandmother, who was like the sweetest woman, she came over one time, and I'd been over and I'd brought flowers to dinner when we had our little like family dinner on Sunday night. And my buddy Mike, he he said to her, who brought the flowers, and she said, "Oh, Uncle Bang Bang, he's so sweet." So anyway, I've been thinking about launching a YouTube channel or a podcast or writing a book or some sort of kind of creative content-based outlet for quite some time now. It's one of those things that I'm a big believer in, the fact that like the universe kind of just aligns as we continue to, put ourselves out there in maybe uncomfortable situations, or maybe situations where we're expressing to the universe that we want growth, or that we want evolution in some specific area of our, lives or our existence. And this is something that's been near and dear to me, and that, of course, like with anyone, right, there were tremendous amounts of reservations and like, oh, what about, this isn't something I've got experience with, or followers, or what's the point, and is it ever going to be monetized, and all these things, right? But like really, I've got a rolling list of ideas of things that I'm very passionate about, and wanted to start kind of putting my ideas out there, and this is as much for me as it is for anyone else. So if someone or some audience stumbles across this and it resonates, wonderful, right? But this is something that I'm looking forward to in terms of my own growth and my own sort of just outlet. So I guess a few of the things briefly, just to touch on, kind of who I am. My name is Derek. I'm 34 years old. I got sober last year living in California. I've been sober for a little over 21 months now. So it'll be 2 years in March. March 1st of last year was the day that I sort of decided to give up that sort of lifestyle, which was just no longer serving me. I'm sure at some point later on in discussions or in episodes that'll be a topic of discussion, but I won't go too far down the rabbit hole now, except to say that it's one of the best things that ever happened to me, without question. I'm sitting here now as a product of that decision that I was guided toward, right? Like, to be clear, I was pretty firmly suggested to me that it was time to make a change in the way that I was living, and in short time I had a couple pretty tremendously impactful things happen to me. I met individuals that helped guide me into a different way of living, but more specifically, just kind of opened my mind back up to things that used to be important to me that maybe had sort of fallen down the priority list. So I was, growing up, I was an athlete, right? I mean, I played soccer my entire life, still play soccer quite a bit. I was a track athlete briefly in college, and just I kind of, I enjoyed that active lifestyle, snowboarding, mountain biking, wakeboarding, hiking, all those things. And all of those things had become just non-existent in my life. So I'm very excited to have, in this last, year and a half, almost 2 years now, have gotten back into those things and then added to that list, right? Like, here's the crazy thing. I remember playing soccer my whole life and hated running, right? I ran track in college. I was a sprinter. I did the 100 and the 200, and I never liked running. But I met a good friend out in San Diego in one of the recovery meetings that I was going to, and started getting into cycling with him. And this is one of those stories that I'll start with because it's one of the reasons that it's not one of the reasons that I wanted to make a YouTube channel, but it's one of the things that I want to have be sort of a cornerstone of this channel. Is just like the little things that turn out to be pivot points in our lives that for sure in the moment don't seem that way, right? Like that thing that happened where you look back, maybe it's a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, and you're like, holy shit, like that was profound. And like this little path that it set me down is it's changed my life. So I'd gotten sober. There's this organization that I volunteer with quite a bit called The Phoenix, and they're a nonprofit that does just incredible free activity-based kind of outdoors active lifestyle type events for people in recovery, or people that are curious about recovery, or people that are maybe involved with or related to or in families with folks that are in recovery, or people that just want to enjoy and take advantage of a sober kind of alcohol and drug-free lifestyle. So anyway, I was told about this organization early on in my recovery journey, and I went on the app, because you can go on the app and just look at everything and you can post, and I went on the app, and I was still pretty new to that community in San Diego, so I was just like, hey, my name's Derek, I just got out of treatment, I'd love to meet some people, I'm into like soccer and snowboarding and golf and things like that. And someone posted in return and said, hey Derek, we're doing a hot yoga class this Saturday. You should come, I'd love to chat with you about something. And what she wanted to speak with me about was the Phoenix had been starting to kind of gear themselves more towards team sports. Maybe not gear themselves more towards, that's probably not the right way to put it, but they wanted to have that be a part of what they offered to the recovery community, right? So that if someone wanted to be on a soccer team or a basketball team or whatever, or a flag football team, but they couldn't afford it, or they didn't have access to it, or they just didn't know that was out there for someone that was sober, then this could be that platform for them as well, or this could be that access for them. So I went to that yoga, which is one that I would wind up going to very, very frequently over the course of my time in San Diego. Shout out to Brittany, one of the most incredible yoga instructors and just awesome souls I've ever met. Fantastic energy. So anyway, I go to the yoga. I meet with Casey, who is the volunteer coordinator in San Diego for the Phoenix at that time, and she tells me like, "Hey, we've been thinking about the team sports thing, and if you're interested, like if you can help us organize a soccer team, we'd love to support that, right?" And that meant both financially, as far as what it might cost to start like a fun sort of not competitive co-ed soccer team in one of the leagues in San Diego. And I had experience with that. I'd done that many times as over the course of my life, just having small teams with folks that I like to play with, whether it was from work or just in my friend group, and we'd wrangle up some folks and we'd get a little team together and we'd go out and play on like Thursday nights. So we did. Over the course of the next month or two, I got together, I think 20, 25 people, all based on, or all that went to meetings, recovery meetings, AA meetings and otherwise, that I would go to, and I would announce it and say, hey, I'm putting together a soccer team with the help of the Phoenix. I'd love to just throw it out there. If anybody's interested, come talk to me. Let's do this thing. And in a short matter of time, it was cool. It was a launched team, and 3 weeks into that season, after we've got the team together, I've got some of my best friends playing on the team, and we're having a good time. We're the first few games were pretty rough, but we're having a good time now. And third game into the season, second half of the game, I pull my hamstring like quite severely. Not like a tear, but it was a very substantial pull where I couldn't play for the next 6 to 8 weeks. I had been in physical therapy earlier because the year prior I'd torn my left calf playing soccer, and this was basically just me being out of shape and thinking I could go out there and play like an 18-year-old, which I was no longer. So I had sort of these like knick-knack kind of nagging injuries that had been plaguing me every time I went out to play soccer, because I was no longer in that kind of shape. So anyway, I get the hamstring injury, I go back to physical therapy. Physical therapist's like, hey man, like you gotta get on the bike, right? Like get on the stationary bike. That's really the only way you can get cardio right now, which was relatively devastating to me because I didn't like the idea of not being able to play with the team and not being able to go to the gym and things like that. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do what she says. I got on the stationary bike, and my boss at the time was like, hey, I see you're getting into this, like, the spin bike stuff, like the Peloton stuff. And he's like, I've got a road bike that I don't touch. I don't ever touch the thing anymore. If you want, you can come pick it up and have it and just see if you actually enjoy cycling. And the first time I was like, nah, I'm good, man. Thank you, but I'm probably good. Finally, he's like, it's like, hey, dude, just come pick this thing up. Like, it's just sitting there collecting dust. So I go, and this was about a year ago. This was this time last year. And I remember because I went home for Christmas. I was still living in California at the time. So I went home for Christmas and for New Year's that year. And I was doing a little bit of cycling while I was home with my brother-in-law and his neighbor, who were pretty active, weekly regular cyclists. They would go for, 30, 40, 50-mile rides, typically once a week on the weekend. So I got into it a bit with them, and that's when I get back to San Diego, and I'm like, okay, I kind of like this. And I hit up this guy that I knew through meetings that I knew was actually an ultra runner. I knew that he was a kind of insane endurance athlete. So I wasn't thinking about that, but I was just like, hey, this guy probably knows someone in that space that could then, that he could connect me with, that I could do some riding with. And that was really my only angle. And instead, he's like, hey, fuck that, dude. I'll ride with you. Like, let me know when you want to get out there. So we did. So that next week I went and met up with them, and we went for like a 20, 25 mile ride. And then, over the next month or two, I would meet up with them almost every week and get a ride in. It would start out with pretty basic, 20, 25 mile rides. I was in decent shape at the time, but I was also in the process of losing a lot of weight and getting back in shape. And, like I said, rehabbing the leg, and hadn't been playing soccer in a little while. So I wasn't in great shape, but I was getting a little bit more fit. So anyway, we start out with these rides, and within 2 months, maybe 3 months, I've gotten to know his background. He was a triathlete for many, many years. He'd done several Ironmans. He'd done like the Tahoe 200. So he's done 100, 200 mile races. And I'm starting to get to know his background. I'm starting to get to know his sort of passion for the world of endurance sport and cycling and running and such. And it's very attractive to me. I'm enjoying getting to know this guy. We're buddies now. I'm enjoying the way that he likes to push not just me, but also himself, and like that he goes after that suffering. David Goggins talks a lot about that, big fan. And it resonated with me for whatever reason. I was enjoying it. So I continued to kind of invest in it. So I, within that first 3 or 4 months, had signed up for a sprint triathlon in San Diego. So I had something to train for, and my buddy would wind up doing that with me. And that led me to kind of where we sit now, which is I moved back to North Carolina, which was where I'm from, born and raised. I had been in San Diego for almost exactly 4 years. I'm back in North Carolina now in Raleigh, which is where I was for 10 years before I moved to San Diego. All of my family's here in North Carolina. I wanted to be closer to my mom, my sisters, my brothers, my nieces, nephews, the whole gig, right? Like getting home once or twice a year from San Diego just wasn't cutting it anymore. So I'm back in North Carolina, and I'm on the phone with my buddy Matt, who was the guy that I trained with for that triathlon, and who is more or less my coach and sort of endurance sport mentor out there. And he's asking me like, hey, what are you working on, right? Like, what are you training for? And I was like, I'm training, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing little bits here and there. I'm still doing some bike rides. I was like, but I don't really, he's like, no, fuck that. Find something, right? Sign up for it. That's when the training starts. You know that. Like, he's like, that's how it works there. So I did that day. My sister, also an ex-triathlete, she helped me find a marathon. And there's a marathon in Elizabeth City, the Coast Guard Marathon on April 7th. And at the time, this was about a month and a half ago. So I signed up for it immediately that day and sent him a screenshot. And I was like, let's fucking do this. And since then, have been doing a pretty intense marathon training program. It not peaked, but it's inclining in mileage and the types of workouts, right? The tempo workouts, the easy recovery workouts, the at pace workouts, right? Pulling from both the Hanson's marathon method and from Hal Higdon. And this includes, right, this story, which is one of those ones where like I got injured, I got into triathlons, and now I'm back in North Carolina. So I get back to North Carolina and I go to some recovery meetings, and I get invited to a retreat up in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, with some of the men that I'd met in AA. And there on that retreat, the guy that's rooming quite literally next door to me at the little, the cabin / conference center that we're staying at for this retreat is doing a marathon the next weekend. He's running in the Philadelphia Marathon to attempt to qualify for Boston, which he, I think, did, by the way. He ran damn near a 3-hour marathon, which should be good enough to qualify him. So I'm right next to this guy. I brought running gear with me to do an early morning long run while I was up in Blowing Rock. It was like 30 fucking degrees. So obviously he and I kind of connect, we get to chatting about it, and this is one of my best buds now. I'm going for a run. Actually, I've got my Adizero Bostons right here. We're going for a run on the track later to do 6x800s, which will be a fun / torturous workout. But anyway, I go on this retreat right after having just moved back. I go to some meetings. I meet these folks that are going on this retreat, and I meet this guy, Kevin, who is now like, again, like a coach, mentor. Like he's a very, very strong marathon runner. And it's stories like that. Part of the reason that I'm excited to have this YouTube channel and to be chatting out into the, into the multiverse of fuck knows what, is that it's stories like that. I love to hear those stories. I love to get to share those stories. Like I said, I've got a laundry list of things that are extremely important to me in my life. And like I said early on, who knows how that resonates, if that resonates with anyone outside of myself and my own sort of close-knit friend group. I'd love to hear about that at some point. I'm also kind of following a very, very, the common theme or the consensus among successful YouTubers and the advice that they give to anyone that's even got an inkling of hey, maybe this would be something I'm interested in, right? They're like, hey, just start getting content out there, right? Just start putting out videos, right? Your first 50, 100 videos, expect no likes, no subscribers, no etc., right? And like, I'm totally there. So my plan is to do no less than 2 videos each week moving forward. I think this is my second this week, and just start to have a dialogue. Like I said, the stories like the one that I shared today, where it's like you have this thing that happened. Let me be clear, right? Because I think I need to add a bit more finality to that story. That was devastating, right? I start the soccer team, I'm sober, I'm like, this is fucking great, life is awesome, I'm doing things that I used to do that used to be important to me that maybe had fallen down the priority list, like I said, and that I just kind of gotten away from. Here I was doing that thing again, and then 3 weeks into it, I get fucking injured and I can't play with the team anymore. I have to show up and just watch. And that's painful for me. Like someone like me that is in here, painful for me. Fuck the physical pain of barely being able to walk because my hamstring's torn from, whatever. But like that was painful. And then fast forward 3 months, I'm getting into the cycling thing. I'm starting to do this training with this guy, Matt, who's a fucking legend. And then fast forward another 3 months. Yeah, I just did a sprint triathlon. That was kind of cool, right? Like I just swam a couple hundred meters and ran, and then biked and ran and got a wetsuit and the whole 9 and finished 4th in my age group and the first one I'd ever done. Like that was kind of neat. And then fast forward again, right? I'm back in North Carolina. Like life has done what it does. And it's brought me back to be near my people, right? My home, which was scary, right? Like that was a leap of faith situation, leaving California and my recovery community and network and friend group that I built there. And like, my job that I've been with the company that I was at for 5.5 years, and I was going to be able to work remote, but like this was a very big thing. So like, that now I'm back in North Carolina, and it's like, oh, let's do a marathon. I need something to train for. I've never run more than 5 miles in my life, right? Every long run that I do now is the longest I've ever run in my life. So I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's just train for a marathon. And then I go on this retreat, and then I meet, this guy who's going to be a mentor and a coach and a good friend with respect to the endurance sport thing and just in recovery and life in general. And it's like those things, those meaningful synchronicities, like that fills me up. It really fills me up. It makes me, it keeps me in a place of gratitude. It gives me inspiration to come on here and get open and vulnerable with everyone that's may ever stumble across this video with obviously no expectations, but yeah, it does. It's really exciting for me to get to reflect on those things and to get to share them with whomever, right? With whomever. So I I know to say that if you're watching this, do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe. That's helping me out. If you have questions, if you have things that you'd like to hear more about me, drop it in the comments, right? Whatever. And then, yeah, hopefully I'll see you back here again for another, brief chat / episode of Bang Bang Anonymous. Take care, party animals.